What should come first with an AI rollout, people or tech? If you're wrestling with this right now, then you aren't alone. Most organizations are somewhere on this journey and wondering if they're getting it right. Today's guest has lived the answer at scale. She'll advocate for putting people at the heart of AI change and has real-world examples to share with us. Aleksandra Brzozowska, also known as Ola, is Head of Learning and Development at Ringier Axel Springer Polska, and her work has turned cautious curiosity into capability at scale, with a manager-focused AI journey, an academy, and ambassadors that make adoption stick. We'll explore what it takes to ignite adoption across a global organization and how to engage people effectively. So I'm delighted to have her join with me today. So welcome to In Good Company, Ola. How are you today?
Great to be here, Dan. I'm very, very excited.
Oh, well, I'm pleased, as am I. I'm very excited to talk to you today. So thank you very much for giving us your time. We really appreciate it. Let's give our audience the opportunity to get to know you a little bit better. So why don't you tell us about yourself in 60 seconds?
It's a challenge. So I've spent last 19 years in the media industry, working across product, tech, marketing, communication. And now I lead a learning and development team in a huge media corporate, Ringier Axel Springer Polska. On top of that, I'm also a podcast host, a well-being podcast. Yes, nice. And I serve on the board of one of NGO's Digital Poland Foundation. And I must say that all of those experiences led me to one conclusion, that any transformation or any new technology is really less about this tech and structure, and it's more about us humans. And today I'm responsible for learning about 1,600 people from different areas, different backgrounds, different generations, and it's really a huge challenge to help them all adopt to this new reality. And I think that also my main focus, but probably not only mine, but also to our listeners, is how to prepare the organization not for one future, but to many futures at the same time. For instance, in media, we are under constant pressure of changing. And on one hand, we have AI and fake news. On the other, we have new rivals like big tech platforms, new generations. But I will stick to this, as you said at the beginning, and myself as well, that people need to be in the center.
Yeah, well, we're going to explore that in much more detail in this episode. So let's get into it. So with the introduction of Gen AI for many of us, and it started focusing on, there was a lot of focus around the technical capabilities. But as you've already mentioned, we're going to talk today about the benefits of putting the people at the heart of those AI transformations. So perhaps, well, why don't you come with your elevator pitch? What would be the people strategy and why should they come first in an AI rollout?
I would like to invite you not maybe to a pitch, but to thought experiment, if it's okay.
Sure, go for it.
Yeah. So imagine you are a company board and you want to make this transformation and you have great ideas, you have budget, and you have a great IT team on board. And the next day, no one comes to work except board and IT guys. And how your transformation is going. Yeah. Or maybe let's change it a bit. You have your team, you have the board, you have the best subscriptions, you have the best tools, and people come to work. But they hate AI, but they don't want to use it. They sabotage all your action. The same questions, how is your transformation now, right? So if we like it or not, AI is just a tool. People need to understand it, needs to see the benefits of it, needs to use it responsibly. And it's really a thing, right? So you cannot just have a tools and expect that it will work without people. And let me maybe give you some example from my field. In 2024, we conducted the largest in-house corporate research on our employees. We wanted to ask our people not only to self-assess themselves, we want to not only ask them to self-assess, but also to tell us what kind of tools they would like to use, what are their needs, and how they would like to learn about AI.
Mm-hmm.
And those insights were really fascinating because they said that they would like to learn from their colleagues. And when it comes to AI, it's also an emotional thing. It's better to learn from my colleague who is nearby, who works in the same context with the same tools. And I think that this is crucial. It's about trust. It's about psychological safety as well. And I think that one of the first move that companies do, they hire external experts. But these are experts, they don't know anything about the company. And having a colleague on my side is, lowering down this pressure. So I would stick to this. Anytime you will ask me about people and tech, people needs to be in the center. It just doesn't work without them.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with what you're saying. And there's also, like, as you were talking there, I was thinking about when AI it was in its early stages. Well, there was a long period of time where kind of it was just a thing that existed in the background, but it wasn't until it started becoming part of people's everyday, and then fear started to come in a bit with it as well, and sort of there was uncertainty around it, bit of unease with it. And you're right, then people would talk about AI with each other, colleagues, family, whatever, and then you start to learn from each other, and there's that human connection with the learning aspect when it comes to AI that I think was super important. That probably there's no way you could force that to happen through, like you say, hiring experts necessarily.
Yeah, and it's not only about teaching others; it's about sharing experiences, talking about the successes or what went good, but also what went wrong, right? So I think it's lowering down this pressure of being perfect in every field.
Definitely, the pace of change when it comes to AI has been, exponential. Probably, there needs to be a new word for exponential almost, because of how fast it's changed. And as a result, I think lots of organizations, teams, individuals are all in very different points of this journey, as we've kind of touched on already. Understanding an adoption even in one organization can be very difficult and different ends of the scale. When we were talking before this episode, you mentioned RASP as a sort of described it as a 2-speed company. How does this break down, and what do you learn from these groups?
Yeah. I think that most of companies are 2-speed or multi-speed companies, right? So the difference is that we have a data for it. So we knew at the beginning that 1 in 6 used AI. So it means that 5 didn't. And you can, of course, treat it as an obstacle, but we treat it as a chance that we have those people who are really in the front, who could be our ambassadors, who could be this first team who are helping us to really sharing these ideas and translating also this strategy. But I think that there is nothing wrong with having those 2-speed company, right? Because people are different. They also learn in different pace. So it's probably quite normal that with us, for instance, we have tech teams and back office teams. So we saw also at the beginning that you have 2, points on the scale. So on one hand, I had a colleague who approached me and said that it's super great that you do this basic training all the time, because I had to attend 3 intro sessions to understand what AI is. And after
Right.
third, I just know what is all about. And on the other, point of the scale, I had a colleague who just won some industrial awards with graphic AI, even before we were talking about AI as a huge thing in our company. So I think that it doesn't really matter as long as there is one goal and they all, drive into one direction.
And how has RASP? You mentioned with the 2-speed. Obviously, if there are people that are really hot on AI, know all there is to know about it, and are using it as part of their everyday, how do you make sure that the people that are at the slower speed aren't left behind? How? I mean, there's obviously something within the culture you mentioned about like going on introduction training programs. How is it done in every day that people can be sort of brought up to the same speed, as it were?
Mm-hmm. So also at the beginning, we did one experiment, and we asked people to put themselves in 3 different baskets. So imagine, for instance, if you are in basket number 1, you have slight idea about AI, don't know nothing, but you are eager to learn, and you need to get to this learning path, to this educational path. So on the second, there were people in the second basket who had the knowledge about AI, but they were not able to to somehow connect the dots, to understand what kind of tool maybe they can use, or how to create a business case, because at the end of the day, it's also important to understand the connection with the business, right? So not only use it for the usage, but also to combine this to our daily work. And they have received that kind of a path when we ask the team, we called it AI Booster, to meet with them.
Right.
And to help them to understand, how to connect it, how to build POCs and business cases. And there was also third basket, and this basket were for the most advanced teams. They just wanted from us, frankly speaking, green light, and please don't interrupt us, right? So we are going, and we just don't want to be stopped by saying now go to the training. So we had this kind of the overview, right? And I think that the value added here was that they felt recognized, and they felt respected, that we don't want to do everything for the same for all, but we really make the differentiation between people on a different levels and serve them different solutions.
I think that's fascinating because, as you mentioned before, us being a very tech-based company, so I think to acknowledge that there will be people within the organization that aren't as tech first minded as others, I think that's a real testament to RASP, and particularly if you're creating the culture where no matter where you sit within your own AI journey, you are supported. That's going to build a huge level of trust. You said the word trust earlier on, and is that what you found then? Is that kind of the result? Some of the results that you've had?
Yes, definitely. I think that the culture that we have created is something really not common, I would say. And what I mean by creating this culture is that we have created an ambassadors program where we invite people from different part of our company to be an ambassador, but we mark them as ambassadors. We gave them some benefits to be those ambassadors, right? But it just went beyond that, because surprisingly, people who were not on that list act as ambassadors. They were, sharing their knowledge. They were, talking about AI during the coffee. So suddenly it was cool to do something with AI in our organization. And we also pointed that it's not about being perfect. It's about being on a learning curve somewhere, No one expect that you need to be, a master in this AI, but we at least want you to try to understand, to see the benefits, and we invite you to this journey. And we lowering when I saw data after a year, because we did two times this research. So one at I think a few months after we started, and the next one after a year. And we were lowering the level of fear for more than 70%. With those people, of course, who marked on a scale that they are afraid of AI, because it was not everywhere the same, right? So I think it's a huge change.
And I think what's key about that culture piece is that by going through this journey and go through this process, you'll be able to take these learnings of how you've gone through this process and seen those positive results, and then be able to transfer that and apply that to other change processes that you might have to go through in the future. And, if the next thing after AI, whatever that might be, that you have to adopt as a culture, you've already sort of got those foundations there of what you've done through this. Like you're saying, you've created ambassadors, but it turns out that there are unofficial ambassadors also.
Exactly.
That and that's what a sweet spot to be in. That can be. You get people engaging with that culture because they feel like they can be included no matter where they are. So I think that's great.
Yeah, it is. It was really like a snowball effect. We after a few months, we just realized that they see that it's cool to be in this AI surrounding. We had some also internal events where we ask our experts, ambassadors, or people, to share. So it was the feeling that everyone is talking about AI, and it's really a pity if I'm not in this environment, if I'm not doing something. And and as you said also, Dan, that there was no punishment for not doing it right, but there was like a very straight communication from our board that this is huge chance for us, this is important for our company, and we really want you to try.
Yeah, and I think that's key, isn't it? Is that the trying is half the battle. I think getting people to just try is if you can get that, then I think that you're on to a winner, because at least even if it doesn't work out, then at least you've given it a go. So that's I think that's exactly. Really important.
And I think that with the transformation, even if you see this adoption curve, there will be always 20% of those laggards who will not adopt. They don't want to change. So it's also important to be aware that you have groups of people, and make a proper strategy, communication strategy, marketing strategy, and use them, and use different tools to also engage different groups with a different approach.
Absolutely. I wanted to delve a little bit into a bit more into the self-assessment that you've been talking about, and and you mentioned that people have kind of felt that it's cool to get involved. That was something that you talked about. And was there anything specifically? Was it just the ambassador model that led to that feeling of people wanting to learn internally, or was there something? Because it's almost like it was almost like influencers, by the sounds of it, within the business that have kind of led to that want for learning. Do you think there's anything else that can be attributed to that desire to learn?
Yes, I think that few things. One is those ambassadors, so the culture thing, but the other, I think that our board, our management board, created a communication line, a streamline, and they were very clear about it, that there is no way back. there is no way back. We need to adopt, we need to use AI. So I think that many companies struggle with this from the communication perspective. So there is a board understands that, oh, we need to do something with AI, but they are not very specific. And there are middle management who wants to do something, but as long as board is not engaged, then the transformation is, is not going to happen. It's really speaking from my experiences. So prioritize, talk every time when there is opportunity to talk how important it is. Be on our internal events, talk to people. So I know that it is not maybe the will from the people that, oh, we need to learn AI because it's cool. It's also a press, from the top that our organization is going to transform. Go with us, be with us. And it also creates a eager to learn, maybe from different motivation point, but still it's very important. So this is one thing. And I think also that we really had the data and we saw that people want to have different formats, different formats, different tools to learn. They learn on different, in a different pace, different times. So we really have created an academy. It was not one thing suits all and one online course. It was more like multiple different elements that they can go and take like a portfolio of learning activities. And I think that it's also very convenient because they see that they don't need to fight, they don't need to be pressed, they don't need to do it when they have their daily work also to be done, but they can just easily pick what they need, what they want at the same time. And I think that the variety also that we have created is something that make it just more accessible.
Yeah, I think you're right. That accessibility piece is key for so much. And again, it doesn't even have to be about AI, just any change process or transformation process that a company or an organization is going through. Feeling included is such a massive part to it for it to be successful. And it sounds like, one sort of extra question I've got for you is, do you feel like you've been through the journey now, or do you still feel like going through it? I mean, with AI that is changing as we've said so frequently, do you feel like you've kind of reached the end of the journey, or do you feel like you're still on it? Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. I think that I'm still on a journey. I also see that each and every month it's a different context. And also from my perspective as a L&D leader, at the beginning, we invite people to, come and be a part of it. But now it's more and more an objective to do something with AI. So also the approach, the company approach, so we invest in you. And at the beginning, okay, you can try. It was more maybe playful. But now we really want to check your knowledge, test the adoption level. And we really want you to put it into the system that there is, also objective for you to do something with AI. So on one hand, when you see the maybe pyramid, so there are still activities for whole employees, so for the company, for all, but there are more and more precise, specific projects, for instance, for editorial teams, when we really want to have, editorial team 2.0. So they use the tools, the specific tools, because different tools for investigative journalism, different to make it more efficient, but still we are going up and up and up. And they are like smaller circles and, better monitoring of those adoptions and, more precise goals.
I think it's as just chatting with you over the past 20 odd minutes, it's fascinating to see the sort of level of detail that you have been through and are going through with this journey. And I think that's, again, like a bit of a testament to RASP, that to give it the attention that it needed and deserved, because not only have you created a culture that of pre-existing employees, but also this will spread out into new hires, new employees that join RASP, and part of that onboarding process, you've already hit the ground running because you've gone through this amazing journey, like to bring AI in, and as I've said, you can then apply that learning to so many other initiatives that RASP are going through.
I must say that it's a huge point on during also the recruitment process that new employees or potential employees, they are asking if there is something with AI, because people also expect that we not only give them the tools to do their daily work, but to educate them, to educate them. Yes, so it's quite important, and we are very proud of it also outside, that we, do some kind of a blueprint, I would say, for other organizations.
Definitely. Well, I'm going to ask you two final questions, and then I'm going to let you go. Well, technically three, but we'll come back to the last one. And one you kind of mentioned being proud, but before I get to that one, because I do have a question around that. And you've kind of, I'm going to get you to sort of summarize, if you will, some of the things that you've been talking about in this conversation. So continuing the theme of spreading the word, as it were, and making a blueprint for other organizations to learn from. If we were doing that and creating a checklist for successful AI adoption and transformation, what would you put on that checklist?
First, I would say research. So learn who's on board, what kind of behavior, skills, who are your employees in terms of AI. For us, it was really a game changer. Then I would say attitude, because it was also quite challenging for me personally, the attitude of no silo thinking. So, we have one goal. There's the transformation coming. There's a change coming. You cannot just think, okay, I'm, doing IT, so I will not share what we are doing, or we are rivals right now. No, the common goal, the one way, it's super important. So this attitude, it's a game changer. Then I would say a special spotlight on managers. And this is also my key learning, because when it comes to any transformation, they are pressed from both sides. So on one hand, there is a board who is, expecting, a change. And sometimes there are a team who is not willing to cooperate. And I also analyzed a few cases that we have internally. And they were all about AI, but they were all not about AI, because they were about communication, transferring a bigger message about this change. It was about some conflict management. So that's why we also went a bit further, and we did a development center for our managers and checked their transformational competencies, we call them, because it's really, today it's AI, but tomorrow maybe, I don't know, advanced computing something, but the managers are still humans, and they will still deal with the same level of fear, conflict, sabotaging, many different emotions there. So as great spotlight on them is super, super important. And we also discussed this, but this personalization of tasks. So the portfolio of different activities, smaller, bigger, but again, many, I would say, not even a few, but many, but not one suits all. It won't work. And I would also really think that it's great also to do your self-mindset check, because, it takes time, and don't expect that will happen overnight. Like in this Fatboy Slim video right here, right now. You know it, Dan.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
The whole evolution is how it's going, right? So maybe someone thinks that it will happen just like this, but there are, ups and downs, and being prepared of it, I think that it's a huge difference when it comes to AI transformation.
Definitely. I think if nothing else, managers around the world listening to this episode will suddenly feel seen and heard by you and want you to come and represent them in their organizations as well. I think, because you're absolutely right. One major thing that I've taken from there, and again, I think shining a light on managers for the reason that there's pressures coming from, as you say, from both sides. And it's hard. There's no two ways about it. It is a challenge, and so to feel like there's a space for that within an organization, and an acknowledgement of that, I think, is crucial to, again, not just AI adoption, but just general workplace culture. I think it's a really good call out.
Yeah. It's a test for culture, I would say.
For sure, 100%. I mean, there's been so much that we've covered today, and you've already mentioned that you've been proud of the work that you've done here, and creating this blueprint that people can learn from. What would you say is the number one thing that you, as Ola, are most proud of?
Only one.
Or you can be more than one if you want. I'm thinking the top of the list, but you can be the top three if you like.
I think that trust that we got from our company, that one L&D team paved the way for 1,600 people to understand AI, to be less afraid or not afraid at all, but to be able just to change people's minds and hearts, and I think that this is super impactful. And I'm of course also proud that right now we are teaching other companies in our group how to do it, or we got some global HR award like from Brandon Hall, right? But these are like just the effects, but from the core, in the heart was this creating a trust, and to give us a chance as a team to build something really meaningful.
I mean, it's amazing what you've achieved, and I think for me, I would say that if you're seeing it, like when you said about the people talking about AI that weren't the ambassadors, that for me, I mean, sounds like another moment. Just to be like, we influenced that, like we created that to happen. Like the whole project, I think, and the whole is something definitely to be proud of. That's movement. Me putting words in your mouth for sure. Yeah. You've literally been an influencer within RASP and potentially further. It's amazing.
True.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, no, and so well done for all the work that you've done. That has brought us to the end of our list of questions, with the exception of one, which is the one we close all of our episodes of In Good Company with. Bit of a chance for some self-reflection, more so than we've just covered, which is, and you may have heard or thought about this question before. If you were starting your career again and had the opportunity to talk to your younger self, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give your younger self?
That's a tough question. But when we were, at the beginning of this journey, there were many hesitations, many doubts, if it's really something meaningful with this AI, or it's just a hype. And I would say to myself, trust the process and just act, just do things, just be in the move, not wait for a perfect moment, because there won't be. Yeah. And I would rather, also cut my actions into smaller pieces. So lots of experiments, smaller before a huge implementation. Maybe also not long-term planning. I don't want to figure out, what will happen in next 6 months. I just need to do the next right move, next right thing, right? So just, I don't want to use words like agile, because it's not about this. It's just, having this self-esteem or being, aware that you just need to be in the move. You don't be afraid. Don't be paralyzed by that this is something huge and you need to figure out this today. Just, smile. It will always help, and just do your thing, right? But you don't need to figure it out for next 12 months.
Well, I can certainly relate to that. Yeah, the being in the moment and I'm often one of those people to go, especially if it's something big, just go, whoa, I need to take 10 minutes and go and sit down and think about this. Sometimes impulsive is not necessarily my go-to, but maybe it should be. But my challenge back on asking you that question is, would you say that, having given that advice to your younger self, do you live by your own advice now, do you think?
Yes, I think right now I'm doing exactly what I just said. Just trusting the process, just trusting myself more. I will figure it out.
Yeah, well, excellent. Ola, it's been great. And thank you so much, as I say, for giving us your time and sharing your knowledge and learnings and expertise. It's been a fascinating conversation. I'm sure our audience will agree. No, it's been great. And you'll have to send us the link to your own podcast, and we'll make sure it's in the description as well. So yeah.
It's in Polish, but still very important.
Well, we have Polish audiences, so yeah, that'll be good. Perfect. I'm sure there'll be an AI tool out there to be able to translate it for.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much. So that just leaves me to say that if you would like to find out any more about Impact, or you'd like to go and see Ola's podcast as well, then you'll find all of the links that you need in the description of where you found today's episode. So thank you one final time to Ola for joining us today. Thank you, Ola.
Thank you. Thank you once again.
And until the next time, take care.